Where do your beliefs come from? That's a question that Dave Gray explores in his book, Liminal Thinking. And to answer that question, Dave shares with us a model that I'm going to sketch out for you here that starts with this base layer of reality. This is reality in its full complexity, therefore, in its entirety at least, it is unknowable. But we live within this reality and we get to experience some segment of it. Some very finite subset of reality is what we get to experience. But here's what's interesting. We don't really appreciate the full breadth of any individual experience that we have because our attention is finite. We can really only place it in one direction in any given moment. So as Dave says, it's kind of like the needle of a record player, tuning into just one small slice of your experience. But from that attention that we give to our experiences, we develop theories about how the world works. We see patterns, we develop expectations about what things should look like when we enter a grocery store, for example. And then on top of those theories, we develop judgments about how the world should look in any given situation. And those theories and judgments form the basis of our beliefs. Things about the world that we believe to be true. This is where you stand, where I stand, not necessarily on the same set of beliefs, but we have each constructed our beliefs in a similar fashion, working our way up. And what this level here represents, what lives above this line, is things that we would call obvious. But even though we think we're on solid ground here, these two layers in particular, the fact that any individual only experiences a small subset of reality, and that those experiences are filtered through this needle point of attention upon which theories, judgments, and beliefs sit, this is actually pretty precarious. That's why Dave drew it as a dotted line here, because this could easily topple over. Dave calls this model here the pyramid of belief, that explains how your beliefs are formed. And importantly, for the case of this book, which is about creating the change you want by changing the way you think, Dave identifies this space right here in between reality and the obvious. He identifies this as liminal space. This term liminal refers to this kind of in-between space, like a doorway, moving from one world to another, from one context to another. And liminal thinking involves becoming more conscious of this area here, this construction of beliefs. Because it's easy to stay just in this world here and not really think about what led to your particular understanding of the world, of a situation going on in your own life, of a topic that you see in the news. It's not until you investigate where those came from that you'll be able to see how strongly or not to hold on to those beliefs. And I wanted to share this here, first of all, because I really enjoyed this book, and because I very much appreciate Dave Gray's visual thinking style. There's lots of great sketches throughout the book here. So if you're working on developing your visual thinking skills, you might practice sketching out the visuals you see within the book. And since visual thinking is the skill that we focus on here, I think it's a great example of a useful model that explains how something works, that gives you an entry point into the complexity of a situation like belief formation. And then finally, because I think there's a lot that this right here has in common with the general act of creating models, as I have shared within the Sketch It Out framework, which is a process that I use to kind of take incoming information, process it, and create some sort of a visual artifact that helps me to explain that particular topic, sometimes just to myself, sometimes to other people. And what all of this suggests is that not only should you hold your beliefs loosely, but also, if you are similar to me, engaged in this process of making models in the form of drawings and diagrams, I think you should also hold those models loosely. This gets at the iterative nature of sketching it out that I described within that framework. This is why I think it's more helpful for your models to live in your hand, to be sketched out regularly, so that each time you sketch out a model that you've developed, you have the opportunity to adjust it based on new experiences or even just newly placed attention. And since Dave developed this model about a decade ago, I'd be curious to hear from him if there's anything about this that he would change if he were teaching it today. I am a friend of Dave's, so Dave, if you happen to be watching this and you have any thoughts on this model, let me know if anything has changed. But for the rest of us, I think this is an encouragement to be a little bit more conscious of where we're placing our attention in this belief formation process. And perhaps, whenever possible, try sketching out what lives within this space that led to something that you think to be obvious. Visual thinking is a tool to explore this liminal space and perhaps identify where some of your beliefs and judgments and theories might need some tweaking. And for more on exploring this space in particular and developing the skill of liminal thinking, which involves navigating this construction process, do check out the book. And be sure to stick around here for more sketched summaries of interesting ideas and tips for bringing this skill of visual thinking into your life. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.